Hey guys, this is Alexandria Richter with A Life Full of Glitter and Sparkle Crafts, and we are doing How to Trace a Portrait. Now this is a portrait of my grandma that I'm going to show you how to trace. There's a lot of cleaning up to do and a lot of weeding to do with her hair especially. So you are now going to open the image on the Silhouette Studio, and once that's opened, as you can see over here, this is my grandpa that I already did. The picture that I did off of his is a little bit darker than I did off of hers because of the top of his head right here was very hard to get in this lighter picture over here, and this side of her hair right here would have been really hard to get in the dark picture. So go over to Trace, select Trace Area, highlight the area that you are wanting to do. Don't worry if it cuts into the other image, we can always delete that. Sorry. Okay. So when I trace, I always set my threshold at 50, my scale at 8, and my high pass filters value, I usually do it at 2 or 3 to start with. Now, this is where you just kind of mess around. What you're looking for are the edges of their face. So like the top of their hair, like that, to make sure that there's a good line. Around the jawline, around the mouth, you're looking to make sure you don't want the lines too thick. If the lines are too thick, it just looks, I don't think it looks as good if the lines are too thick. So scale is the noise that is in the trace, how big and how much is actually there, like in the blacks and like in her hair. So I'm just kind of showing you, like, the higher you go up with the scale, what it kind of looks like. So we're back down. So here I'm messing with the high pass filter. No, the threshold, sorry. I'm messing with the threshold. So the threshold kind of shows more of the outlining of the details of the face. And really just kind of mess around, see what it looks like, and, you know, go up to a 4, then go back down to threshold, kind of mess around. I usually stay within 49 to 50. And don't worry about this black area here on the bottom of my hair coat. We're going to delete that. But up here in the hair, we're actually going to keep. So I'm going to trace that. Pull the image off to the side. And select the image, go back up to fill and fill it. So you can see what it looks like. Now, looking at it, I'm not happy with her jawline. On the left hand side, you can kind of see her mouth looks good, but that jawline doesn't look good. So it's not really defined. So I'm going to pull that one over to the side and trace again. When I trace, you guys, I trace so many different tracings to kind of see what I like. So back over to threshold, started at 50. See how you can see more detail when it's 50? But the lines are pretty thick, so go back up to high pass filter, the value, and bring it down. That makes the lines a little bit thinner, but you can always edit how thick the lines are. So see how I'm kind of messing with the high pass value, and then kind of messing with the scale. So I've kind of like the way that's looking. And once again, don't worry about the noise around the bottom area. Okay, so trace that, pull it off to the side, move the image out of the way, select it, go up to fill, and fill it. Now, that looks amazing. So I compare the side by side, and obviously the second one was 10 times better. I love the glass line, her eyeglasses line. And you can definitely see that jawline in the second trace. So we're going to keep the second trace, delete the first trace. So here is where the most tedious part of tracing, other than weeding, comes into play. So you are going to select the image, right click, and weld. I know that sounds weird because when you're doing a text, you weld them because you want them welded together. Well, welding and tracing actually individualizes each little cut that it's going to make into its own little section. So with this, it takes quite some time for it to weld, I guess, unweld together. I have tried right clicking and release the compound. When you do that, it loses some of the detail in it. So, and I'm going to leave this this part in real time so you can kind of see, because there is so much noise and black area, that is why it takes quite a while. So I'm actually going to show you, this is how long it takes for it to unweld. At first, I thought something was wrong, so then I right-clicked, closed the program, lost everything. The first couple times I did it. Then I noticed, okay, this takes forever. So I usually right-click, weld, and then walk away or do something else on the computer while it's unwelding. Okay, so now that it's unwelded, you can see all these individual pieces have their own little box, their edit box around it. So here you are going to start deleting. I know that seems so scary, but zoom in. I like to kind of delete the outside around her hair and this black stuff over by her on the right side. So just click out of the image and see how I'm highlighting just a section away from the hair. Now, see, I highlighted the hair. It's highlighted around the hair. Delete it. If you delete it, just go up to undo and undo, because you're going to do a lot of that. So this part I'm going to kind of speed up because it takes so long. But just go through, be really careful when you get into the face. Also remember, you have to weed this still. So all those little cuts honestly probably will get caught on the blade, or they will just go like when you're weeding, they'll get stuck to the vinyl. So I'm going to delete this part on the right side so I can bring the image closer. The whole entire time you're deleting the noise within the face, you want to keep on comparing to the original image. So bring the image as close as possible to the trace part and really reference around the mouth, around her eye, around the eyes, reference everything. So I'm going to start here at the top. As you can see, it actually traced those little parts of her bang coming down. I want to keep that because that is what makes the photo, the trace, amazing when you cut it in vinyl and put it on whatever you're going to put it on, a picture frame. I do not suggest putting these on ornaments. I actually do not suggest cutting them smaller than like a 6x6 square. That's actually what a glass block is. The inside of the glass block is a 6.5 by 6.5. So I honestly would not suggest cutting smaller than that because once again, these little teeny cuts that are in here that I'm deleting, when you get into the hair and the ones that kind of you want to keep, they're really just going to go away. So right here, I'm going to show you, you can use the eraser. A lot of you are probably like, well, just erase it. I'll show you why I don't use the eraser the whole entire time. So I'm going to make it smaller and come in. I'm actually just going to delete, whoops. My goodness. Okay. So I'm going to delete some of this stuff and then show you with the eraser, you can erase, but it does take a long time to kind of think about it, as well as when I was doing it with my brother's picture, the picture that I have posted, it kept on freezing, and then I'd have to force the program to close, and then it would just then it would delete everything. So I also suggest while you're doing this, go up and save it periodically while you're deleting all this stuff. So see how it kind of took a minute to think about what you're deleting. When you delete it just with the pointer and individual pieces, it doesn't take as long. But I use the eraser to clean up those lines so we're pretty close to straight. If you are not straight, you guys don't worry about it because those little imperfections of it kind of cut in so it's not a perfectly straight line, that is what makes the image great. So if you're kind of a shaky hand when you're erasing, that's just fine. So see how long that is kind of taking to kind of think about erasing it. That part of the hair I'm actually going to keep because that is part of the image that I'm basing off of. So in here, I'm kind of referencing back to the original photo and going through and erasing. You really want to clean up and clear up their face. You want to get all those out, unless it's like a wrinkle, a mole, something that is identifying to that person. You obviously want to keep that marking. Dimples, the line dimples, you want to keep that. So yeah, zoom in. So see those little teeny marks? It's going to cut that and it's going to either get stuck on your blade, so it's not going to be there in the first place, or like I said, as you're weeding through, it's going to delete it. So here, I'm actually going to show you, I also manipulate the photo by moving some of these pieces to make to make a line or something. I will make things bigger, the little markings bigger. I'll make them smaller. And I'll show you at the end, I'm actually going to take her hairline that is on the left side, copy it, mirror it, and flip it on the right side so she has that definite hairline on the left side, because she's obviously against his black coat in this picture, and that's why we couldn't get it. So here I'm zooming in more, and do you see how I'm pushing, just pulling that up, turning it so it's kind of with the hairline, and see how that looks so much better. So don't be afraid to do that. And you guys, there's always the undo button. If you delete something accidentally, undo it. If you move something and don't like it, undo it. So see how I undid that? I actually want that back up there because that is the top of her nose, the bridge of her nose. So I'm going to undo and put that back in. So I'm just going to kind of shape it up just a little bit so it's not as big, because it kind of got that shadowing over there on the right hand side. Back to my pointer tool and just start deleting, cleaning up her nose. Whoops. Deleted the mouth. Don't worry about it. Go and delete, undo. Brings it right back. So I'm going to speed up this process because this takes forever. Like I said, this was like originally a 45 minute video because of how much detail you're erasing. So I'm going to speed up this process and kind of come back when I'm doing her hairline. And then I actually add in a coat line over for her shoulder over on the right hand side, because when I put these two images together, I don't want her just head floating there. I kind of want to ground it. So you kind of want those shoulders. So as you're tracing, you want to get those shoulders into that trace. So I'm going to speed this up and then come back when I'm editing her hair so you can see how I do that. Okay, so this part is sped up, obviously. But the main thing that I can kind of just keep on saying is reference back to the original photo. You don't want to delete something that that is part of their face. Just so keep on going through. I use the eraser part of this. And as you can see, like, I'll delete something like a mouth or a nose, and you just, once again, push undo. So just keep on referencing back. So getting close here. See how I cleaned up that right side with the eraser? And it's looking pretty good. There's little parts up there that I think I want to clean up a little bit. Just to get that dimple a little bit more cleaned up. So I am going to right click this hair, copy, paste, and I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. And this is when you're going to go smaller, make it fit. I just keep on making it smaller to make sure that it fits and looks good over there, because when I put these two images together, I want, you know, there to be a hairline, because that was obviously in his coat and his black jacket. So we didn't get that definition of that hairline like we did around that light background. So I'm just putting it into place, making sure that it still's looking good, and I think it looks pretty good. Rotate it just a teeny bit so it lines up with the hairline that we're adding it into. And I think that looks pretty good, especially when I add it to the, add him into the picture. So I'm cleaning up her chin a little bit more, because remember, when you're weeding this, those little dots are really hard to do. So might as well just get it out. Didn't like that dot gone, so I put it back. Now her hair, I'm going to leave as is. And as I'm weeding, it's going to kind of weed itself out, and that is just fine. So looking at it, looks pretty good. I definitely want to get that shoulder on her right side so it doesn't look like she's kind of floating there. So I'm going to pull him into the image. But before I do that, highlight everything, right click, and make a compound path. Because if you try to move something, you're going to move individual pieces and not the big image. I'm going to make her a little bit smaller, kind of make them proportionate to each other. But I am putting this on a glass block. So they're, once I edit more, I have to edit them a little bit smaller. So I am going to actually trace her left shoulder. Well, left on this, which is actually her right shoulder, but I just want that shoulder line. So just quick trace, and then I want the image not flipped, mirrored. Then I'd figure out what I'm actually doing. So, because I had never actually mirrored an image before. So I undo that and then mirror the image. Mirror to the right, delete that old one. I actually just pull it down to the side, just make sure I don't need it. And kind of line it up to where you think it's going to look good. Right there, that shoulder line actually looks pretty good. And that's actually a little too long, so I'm going to just cut some of it out. It's going to think about it. Then you need to make that a compound path so that shoulder, when you move her, stays with her instead of floating on its own. And I kind of line up their faces to make sure that they're good, but there you go, you guys. Here I'm just kind of making him a little bit more size proportionate to her. But once again, I am putting this on a block. So once I get my block template into place, then I can really make them proportionate to each other. And as you can see in the picture, her hairline is actually at his shoulder. So I brought her down a little bit more. But there you go. If you have any questions or anything, please leave me a comment below. Or find me on Facebook. And I have all that linked in the comments down there. Yeah, please give me a thumbs up and let me know how this video is. Once again, this is my first tutorial, so a little rocky there. You can obviously hear my little girl in the background watching her movies. So, yeah, hope this was great, and I'll see you soon. Okay, thanks, guys. Bye.